So welcome to another Wednesday, our gatherings, Earth Level gatherings with a hub. Welcome. And today our topic is the prince or the princess and the pea. And the inspiration from today's topic has come from the weekend that I've just been with Sandrine. Sandrine can't make it today. She's out and about. Unfortunately, but she'll be back next week. And just a few things that I've picked up as a good reminder. So we're quite familiar with Matias De Stefano, even if you haven't heard about him in particular. But what I really want to put into a context today as a little meditation for all of us, so we can just, you can just listen and just see what comes of that. Is the, I don't want to call it like the art of attraction, it's not about attracting and manifesting or anything, but it's about looking at the I am. We've been talking about the I am ad nauseum, the ego that is required for every individual in order to have their experiments and their experiences in this reality. And I want to just do a little meditation on that based on what I still remember from the weekend, and then also take you guys through the 9 dimensions or 12 dimensions as we're doing that meditation. And to start off with, a couple of the context, the first triangle, because Matias De Stefano always talks about the Merkaba. The Merkaba to that is a vehicle of light to travel throughout the universe, basically, and it's all got these different triangles. And I want to just really focus on the one triangle and make this meditation in a two-part form, so that you can use the first part whenever you feel like you want to be a bit of you want to have some balance, and you don't want to go through all the dimensions or anything like that. And so he basically talks about the I am that I am, our individuality, our personality, our ego, that we all need in order to be able to move around in this reality. He makes a very distinct reference to it being seated in the xiphoid, at the end of the sternum. So at the end of the sternum, there is a little bit of cartilage. For anyone who's done therapy, physical therapy, they know that there is a little bit of like cartilage, and that cartilage is quite important for respiration, but also for the abdominal muscles and digestive system and everything. And if you think about it, you got the sternum going down here. At the end, you got the little cartilage, and that's where the ribs then start. So think of it as a little triangle there. And that is still part of the solar plexus. And the solar plexus is connected to the sun, and the solar plexus is connected to the earth and the pancreas. And this is the seat of the ego. Now, lots of people look at manifestation and connecting to other people more from a heart perspective. And that is true too, because the heart is the one that feels, and the heart is the one that expands that energy, and the heart is the one that connects to other people. And it's obviously very close to that xiphoid point, to that xiphoid process, like some people know it as a xiphoid process, but at the end of the day, it's the solar plexus that creates the energy and that creates the connections through the emotions. And then the heart is the one that just expands it out and connects with that energy. The heart itself does not create it. So this, hi Jen, this is that first little triangle, that ego triangle. And what I did like in his presentation was that he called that part the point of gravity. And that was just when he said that, I don't think I've heard that before. The ego, the I am, and as the point of gravity. Which means that when you think of sitting on a bed, right? And the more you fortify your ego, the more your boundaries are set, the more coherently you are aligned within the, the spirit and the soul and the body, the more the depth of the gravity, the heavier, but not in a negative perspective, the deeper the ditch goes, and you start to really present yourself as the center of the universe that you actually are. Because every single one of us is the center of the universe through the point of gravity, through the ego, through the I am, through that little triangle that we're going to start meditating on. Does that make any sense in terms of context? Or is it good? I'm just going to throw this at you and then we take it from there.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, cool. So
yes, that's good, Martina. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have to close your eyes. He makes the distinction between activation and meditation, which I thought was quite nice as well, because I'm not a big fan of closing my eyes necessarily. If you close your eyes, the pineal gland thinks we're going to go to sleep and just shuts down. So you can keep your eyes slightly open. You don't have to really close them in that kind of meditation. And that would be then an activation of your I am, of your ego, and of your point of gravity. So do whatever you have to do. You can bring your feet down and have your hands maybe palms up on the knees. That would be another triangle, but let's not go in there because it gets too complicated otherwise. Just focus on that, xiphoid process, on that, diaphragm, just that below the sternum. And just take a couple of breaths in. And use the breath through the nose. So the mouth is closed, you're breathing in. You're holding that breath for just a gentle split second or two. And then you're exhaling again whilst you are focusing on that point of gravity. And then center yourself in the universe. The good thing about this is you don't have to find the center of the universe, because you are the center of the universe. Boots on the ground, feet on the ground. You are the center of the universe. So wherever you find yourself, Lana in Iowa, Tennessee, Mary in Ireland, me in London, we're all our own center of the universe, because we're all the center of the universe. And there you just begin to breathe. And think of that point of gravity. As you use your breath, you can breathe your own rhythm. And that becomes the point of attraction. So that's the alignment of it. And you stay connected, your soul, your body, your spirit. And everything is coming towards that center, that point of gravity. As you just keep breathing. There's nowhere to go. As soon as you start thinking, the thoughts takes you off that center. So bring the thoughts back into the center and just keep breathing into that little triangle right underneath your sternum in the diaphragm, the solar plexus. You can also imagine that little triangle as a tetrahedron, you know, as a 3D triangle, basically. That in itself is part one of that meditation, which I've, you know, now presented as a context. That can be done whenever you feel like it, whenever you feel like your thoughts are all over the place, whenever you feel like you're thinking of other people, of other places. Just center yourself back into your I am, into your point of gravity. And then from there now, imagine yourself as a prince or princess on a royal bed with lots and lots and lots of layers of mattresses. In fact, 12 mattresses. And there's that P right underneath the first layer. Keep breathing as we've done before, holding that 0 point in the center of that triangle. Bring your gentle gaze now to the bridge of your nose whilst you're sitting on that royal bed, to the bridge of your nose, and just try to let go of that focus. So you have your eyes slightly open, might start squinting a little bit. And you may or may not start, the image in front of you might double up. As you start doubling up, it's almost like a door appears. And through that door, you can enter more consciously into all those other dimensions. This is when we start being able to read between the lines, like letting go of that focus, that focused intention, and open ourselves up to the invisible. Still focusing on the I am, the point of gravity, the ego, your individuality, your personality. And then as you find yourself on top of that first mattress, that sort of, metaphorically represents the first dimension. Just make yourself comfortable there. This is where the ancient beginning of your destiny is. From that very beginning of time. When one cell became two. And just perceive that space of oneness in that first dimension there. Non-separation. It's like lying on a cloud. All those unexplored, infinite possibilities ahead of you. The beginning of searching that true north. What is your true north? Just comfortably sitting on these piles of mattresses. And then allowing yourself, you keep breathing through the nose, in and out, maybe a little hold in between, that shunya, that 0 point, that neutrality. Now we're going to drop down into the next layer of mattress, into the second dimension. And this is where we're meeting polarity. It might get a bit unsteady now, pulling, a pushing, throwing. But always that trying to get back into balance. Sometimes it's a holding on to the duvet. Sometimes it's a just letting go, going with the flow. Just don't fall off this bed now. All these mattresses. Get a sense of what it takes to enjoy the frame. Remind yourself all is well. As we then drop down into the third layer, the third dimension. Remind yourself you're the point of gravity. You're the center of the universe. This is your game. This is your creation. This is your experimentation. Keep breathing and coherently align yourself to the soul, to the spirit, to the body. And just become that purpose and that mission. What if there is no purpose? What if there is no mission? Or whatever you're experimenting and experiencing, exploring, creating through trial and error becomes your purpose in the end. Catch your breath there. And just focus back onto that triangle, point of gravity. Your I am, your ego. And begin to magnetize all your soul shards, parts, aspects towards you for integration, for actualization. As you do that, you begin to drop down another layer, another mattress, fourth dimension. This is where time lives. You ask your timekeeper to help you create energy patterns and shapes with the help of time and frequency. You hear the echoes of the ancient times. You begin to recognize the patterns. You begin to able to categorize. Do I still need this? Do I not? You begin to transcend time and see it for what it is, a tool for you to experiment and experience, transform and transcend. And whilst all of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is going on, you still breathing, you I am, point of gravity, you're dropping into the fifth mattress, onto the fifth mattress. The point of gravity is getting deeper. You're going to meet your angelic selves, your guides, your masters, your mastery selves. And together with them, you hold hands. And you play together with the 5 elements: water, fire, air, earth, ether. You begin to realize that you are an alchemist. You're an alchemist of life. As you begin to meet yourself in etheric form. And together you drop through onto the 6th mattress. 6th dimension, the 6th dimensional. Welcome to the 6th dimensional layer. This is the layer where you can view, where you can transform, and where you can actually start to rearrange patterns of existence. So whenever you perceive a pattern, a habitual pattern that's gone awry, you go onto that 6th level, 6th dimensional mattress and start rearranging it, changing it, transforming it. This is the path of the ego. You're honoring the ego. This is the time where you start understanding the difference between being, doing, having. You begin to open up all your eyes, the left, the right, the third eye, the fourth eye at the anus, the two in the palms of your hands. As you do, those interdimensional doors and gateways are opening for you. You ask for permission. Always ask for permission to enter. Starting to vibrate the energy of unconditional love and allowance. You very happily use your will to conjure up the right tension inside yourself to take action with ease, joy, grace. You keep breathing, breathing into that triangle right underneath the diaphragm, the sternum, the xiphoid point, your ego, your point of gravity. As you now start getting deeper onto the next mattress, seventh dimensional layer. Which allows you to meet your archangels. Breathe in the unity and appreciation of your archangel selves. What if every chakra has an archangel that continuously communicates with you? What is it you want to eat? What is it you want to do and be? You are that point of gravity. You are the creator of your reality. You have all those dimensional aspects available to you to work with you. You are the point of gravity that resonates with all that benefits your evolution. You now landed on the 8th mattress. Your signature frequency attracts all collaboration with ease. No more hardship. All is inclusive. No judgment. There, you meet everyone and everything that supports you, that supports your I am existence. Now watch and see yourself become whoever you meet and touch. No more separation. There are only opportunities and possibilities to remember, learn, and grow. There is no duality, but there is polarity that keeps the fabric of this reality in balance. Soul, spirit, body. Keep breathing in. Hold the breath. Keep breathing out. The triad of existence. Inhalation, neutrality, exhalation. And as you do that, as you keep breathing, you land on that 9th mattress. Nice and soft, making an impact now as your point of gravity strengthens. Allow that dimensional U spiral within and around you. All is available to you and within you to shape your own truth. No more seeking. answers from the outside. Every layer represents a key to another gate or door that offers codes and building material for your rainbow bridge. Now let's use a sound to hum, to begin building that bridge within your center. Let that sound take you down the last 3 layers, the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th dimension. Everything comes from the source of power and returns to it. Take a deep breath from the top of your head and all the way down into your feet and locate that P right underneath those 3 layers of the mattresses. We're all peas in one pot. And yet, every pea is an individual character, a significant piece of the puzzle, a contribution that only that particular pea can be to the pot, to the pie. That golden pea is the void space that includes everything and judges nothing. The beginning and the end of it all. It remains at all times within and outside of us, making it possible for us to move around on and within our pile of mattresses, building and relocating our center of gravity as we experiment and explore consciousness. As those creators of our own universe that we truly be. You're focusing back onto your triangle, your point of gravity, under your sternum, your diaphragm, your xiphoid point. Take another deep breath in. Hold the breath. And exhale. Then slowly just start moving your fingers, your toes. Do whatever you have to do to your body. Move, get up, sit down, change, massage. And then join us back on the Zoom here. And it doesn't matter, some of you guys have come in the middle of the meditation. That's fine too, because there's no linearity to that. We inhabit those dimensions. Without having to separate them. Everything's happening simultaneously. Those separation ideas is purely to just get a sense of what we can work with. So what I would like to do now is I'd like to open it up to maybe, you sharing what you experienced. Have any questions, any answers? And then we'll take it from there. Who wants to kick it off?
Well, I'll say something.
Yeah.
It felt very restful. That's number one. I did get some visions, but they were just more random things, coming in, and nothing too profound to talk about. It's just seeing this and that, and just randomly. That's about it. But no, I didn't really get anything big from it. It was good. I felt rested then. Let's put it that way. It felt good.
And I think that's a great point you're making, actually, Lana, because, when we center ourselves in the universe as the I am, as that point of gravity, there's nothing to see.
Yeah.
Nothing to see. There is just that place where we just become still. We focus on our breath and we honor the ego. We honor our expression. We honor ourselves as a part of this whole experiment. And the main thing with that is, I think lots of people have this thing of, oh, something needs sparks, this. No, it's like everything is coming to you. And there is divine timing to that. It's not like everything is bombarding you at the time. Everything is coming to you when the time is right. And by doing that kind of, especially the first part, that just focusing on your triangle here in the chest, that just takes you back into the present moment. But it's more than that, because sometimes the present moment we think, oh, I live in London, so this is too small if I'm here. But we don't realize that wherever you are the universe. Wherever you bringing everything together, but just being planted, feet on the ground. And what if that is all it takes?
Right. Well, one of the things that when you started the meditation, what I was aware of was that as you were getting into the different aspects of journeying through the meditation, was that it was taking away from my focus, and I'm trying to concentrate on what you're saying. And I felt that that was a bit of like a distraction to getting centered and focused, because I'm trying to listen to what you're saying, and it was going against what I'm trying to achieve. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
It's like because you have to concentrate on following what you're
Mm.
saying, that person is saying. So it's
I
a
mean,
bit of a distraction, isn't it?
it can be. It can
Mhm.
be. That's why there are so many different kinds of meditations, activations out there. Because, sometimes you just want to sit and you want to breathe.
Yeah.
And, when we do meditations or activations like that, it's not that you must have, as I said early on, immediately this amazing experience with it. But it just opens up possibilities for you to think, okay, well, I can play with the dimensions a little bit more. Oh, okay, well, the archangel's in the seventh dimension. So how can today I'm just going to focus on the seventh dimension. I'll speak to the archangels, right? Or today I'm just going to talk to the fourth dimension, and speak to the timekeeper. So, and at the end of the day, all you can do is or you just don't want to do any of that. You just want to breathe in and out,
Yeah.
into the center of gravity. Yeah.
But
And
one of
lots
the
of,
things I
yeah.
did when I realized that I was being distracted by following you along, what I silently did was that I said the law of one. So the law of one brought me back into oneness. And so once I did that, my focus came back on me as being, you know, the center of the universe rather than having to be listening to a voice outside of myself. Right? Because
Sure.
think about it, I'm listening to a voice outside of myself, which is your voice leading the meditation, and I'm not really focusing on myself, coming back into my oneness as being the center of the universe.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. It's a good one. And the thing is, you know, you don't have to listen. For instance, Emma was with us on the weekend. And this is something, you know, that was not the meditation that he did, you know. I just took bits and pieces and put it in that kind of context. And Emma is obviously not used to his energy or the energy of 1,000 people in one place, which looked like a pyramid. It was just incredible. So she slept pretty much. She just fell asleep throughout the first day. And she said, I'm so embarrassed. I said, no, don't be. And she said, no, I wasn't sleeping. I was just like almost unconscious. And I said, yes, well, that's the energy if you're not used to any of that, you know, just gets knocked out. And she took away what she needed to take away, and she took it in. So yeah, I can totally appreciate that sometimes the words, but it's not the words anyway, isn't it? We take on that vibration, or we resonate with the vibration, with the frequency. And if you don't want to hear any other words, it's absolutely fine too.
Well,
Just the two things you
what
might
I
want
find, Martina, was that I wasn't listening necessarily trying to make sense of the words anymore that you were leading in the meditation, but what I was doing was just like hearing the sound and listening to the sound of your voice. So the sound overrode making sense of articulating what the words you were coming from you. And it just went into a beautiful sound. So just listening to the calmness and sound of your voice, that sound is what kind of brought me down to a quietness. It's like listening to music, you know, you're listening to the sound of music, music that that doesn't have necessarily words in it, but just the sound of it. And so when you do that, listen to the sound of your voice itself, it becomes a soothing sound. I'm not trying to think of mattresses and layers of mattresses and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the metaphorical representation. You know, it can be quite fun to use metaphorical representations because everything is a metaphor, really, at the end of the day. And we're just expressing ourselves through metaphors, hidden or open, that kind of thing. Yeah. But it's an interesting thing point you're making, because, you know, if I listen to a guided meditation, if I look at this, I don't necessarily hear the person's particular, whoever does the meditation, I don't hear it either, because I start internally doing my own thing, very much like what you are saying. And then I pick up a few things that just guide me further to the next, you know. So this is a good point for anyone who's actually finds it difficult, or judges themselves for not being able to listen to a guided meditation. That's not really what a guided meditation is about. So thanks for bringing that up, Lana. Yeah. Mary, do you want to?
Yes, I will share now that I have a moment that I can share. It's very similar to Lana's in terms of distraction, but it's different in a way. I suppose my distraction was different and I was different in it. But but the theme was very much distraction because I'm with my grandchildren this evening. So I'm being pulled all over the place. One of them had to go to hurling, was looking for the sweatshirt and the socks and the boots, and I was listening to the meditation all the time, and I thought, this is real life because this is what I'm doing here. I'm navigating 12 dimensions with the feet on the ground, and I'm doing the normal day-to-day things. And if you look at me, you would think, yeah, that's all she's doing. She's just getting the gear ready for the football match. But actually, I was on all 12 dimensions and aware of it. Now, the distraction showed me something that was really interesting, because it's funny, I just wanted to come on this evening. I knew it would be difficult for me, and I knew it would be difficult for me to pay attention. But that's really interesting, because when I pay attention, I pay a lot of attention. And when I'm doing a meditation, I have to go all the way in there, and I have to see where it's going to take me and see what I'm going to get out of it. But I couldn't give it that amount of attention, but I was still able to give it sufficient. But what it actually showed me was, and somewhere along the journey of the dimensions, I thought, yeah, this is a game. You're taking this too seriously. It's really just a game. You've already won it, actually. You're just playing here. This is fun. And the whole thing with the mattresses and going down, yeah, that it all turned into a game, and that was really light. I have to say, the whole thing was really light, and I wasn't working so hard as to what am I getting out of this? How do I feel when she talks about that, and how do I feel when she's here, and how do I feel when I'm there? I wasn't doing that at all. I wasn't looking for that, because I was so distracted keeping my feet on the ground and being there at the same time. It was such an interesting meditation for me, because it is not like ones that I would have done. And I think that the whole setting of it for me, where I'm here with the children and all this going on, was so interesting. And what it taught me was, if I, again, to summarize it, was that it's playful. Life is so playful. It's just a game.
Thank you very much, Mary. There's a couple things you're mentioning here. The intention to do it, first of all, I went down,
Right.
not up.
Yes, you did.
I
That's right.
chose that to show
Yes.
that we can do the other way around. And it's obviously much more grounding that way. And there is no difference, because everyone thinks we need to go up.
Yes.
So what you're saying is it works perfectly for what I was trying to achieve here, to show the other way. Also, choosing the mattresses, the fairy tale, all of that, bringing that lightness to it. That was the other point I was trying to make, and you so beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
And then in the very beginning, when I said when we were focusing onto that I am, that point of gravity, I said, blur your eyes to the extent you don't close the eyes, blur them so much so that whatever's in front of you, you can no longer see just one, but it doubles up. And this is when the door opens up, where you can actually go through the dimensions. And again, that's the third point you're making here, is because you had so much going on, you couldn't focus. And that's it. Because when we focus, we did focused intention last week. When we focus, we can't start perceiving all the dimensions, because we're so focused. Both eyes are just, they're crossing over in the back, as we know, the nerve strings, so that we can actually focus, we can drive. But when we do meditations like that, especially when we want to become more aware of the gateways, the doors, that seen between the lines, we have to almost have distraction. We have to have that soft gaze where we're allowing ourselves to not see properly, not to be focused. So that was great. And lots of people, and this is also that misperception of you need to sit down, you need to sit in your certain, with the legs this way and the hands this way, and it has to be quiet. No, if you really want to go into that space, this multidimensional space, it's actually easier when you are, I don't know, sitting at the airport, or, you know, getting
Yeah.
kids ready for the football game. So thank you very much for mentioning that, Mary.
Yes, and I'm just thinking too that, you know, when J.K. Rowling was writing the book, what was it again? Oh, you know, the film. Oh
No,
gosh,
what did she write?
she was writing. There
Hobbit
was a
or
film.
oh,
I can't just think of the name of it right now.
philosophy?
Um,
I don't know.
she's a very famous writer, but anyway, she was not able to write her book at home. She
Mm.
used to have to go to a cafe that was really busy, and she could write her book while everybody else was going around talking. And I remember one evening too telling you, I was driving actually, I can still see where I was on the road. And I came on and I said, you know, oh, life is hectic and it's really busy and all of that. And then I said, but you know, that's when I work at my best, when I haven't enough time to do something. So if I'm asked to do something, I'm nearly better to say, and will you do these other 5 jobs at the same time now, Mary? Then I can really get it all done. Because if I have too much time to pay too much attention, I pay too much attention to something and I lose something else in the process. So for me, it's trying to not pay as much attention. Like that image of J.K. Rowling writing in the cafe, it's like, you know, I'm really not writing at all. I'm really just having tea here and I'm just watching everybody going in and out. And I might write a few lines, but I might not. And I love that energy and I love that feeling because it's, well, maybe I will and maybe I won't, and it doesn't matter anyway. You know, there's a lightness about it, and that's what I loved about the meditation.
And yes, of course, ladies, it is Harry Potter.
That's right, Harry Potter.
Of
Yeah,
course, it's Harry Potter. But
it is.
and you're absolutely right. And this is the thing, you know, there's a time when you have to pay attention when you're driving, right?
Mm,
There's a time when you have to allow yourself to not pay attention, because as soon as you focus in something, you're missing out on the rest.
mm,
And that's
yeah,
widening that perception, you know, that is really important. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Jen, what is Jen saying here? Yes, I get that with creating art. There is no pressure. I do, if I feel like it, I don't. When I don't, it's about feeling the joy in it. Yeah. Yeah. So, and this is why I think, you know, this law of attraction sometimes takes us in a wrong direction, because it takes us into focusing on what we want, right? Instead of becoming that point of gravity. That is the intention. That is a focus of being the point of gravity, but it doesn't take possibilities away. It opens them up. As you become the center of the universe, the point of gravity, with feet on the ground, wherever you are right now, not with the thoughts going, you know, to left, right, and center, that's when everything comes. And then you can have your, let's call it a blurred vision, your open vision, your cafe vision, your creative vision, where everything can just come in. And you're taking in that information, like he said, Matias said, information, it's coming in formation. And you don't have to, the only thing that is intention, your intention, the only thing that is intention is your vehicle, your design, your body, because you are the point of gravity. And you see, this is the other thing, what made me realize with this grounding business, you are the point of gravity. You are grounded. There's nothing you need to do. Just
One of the things, Martina, that was mentioned here just now was that when you unfocus your eyes, you don't like stare directly at something, um, and you do the unfocus bit where you kind of take your eyes out of focus a little bit, and you look at a particular spot, or say for example, I look at trees, right? If I unfocus my eyes when I'm looking at the trees, I'll begin to see the other dimension that I couldn't see if I was just looking at the tree without any type of additional focus. So when I unfocus my eyes, I begin to see patterns that I never saw was there before. And I find that really, really exciting when I do that. Or sometimes I'd look at the ground, like the grass on the ground, and unfocus my eyes, and I start to see all kinds of patterns and geometric shapes and things like that. Sometimes I'll see huge hearts and stuff like that on the ground. And I'm like, yes, the spirit is right here with me, showing me and expressing to me that there is love everywhere. And I kind of like that.
Well, Anna, this is exactly, you know, where you open that door to spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, spirit, you don't need to open the door, but you do, you know, because if you have your focused eye, focus, you can't see it. And we all want to see it.
Right. Yeah.
And it's not, like you said, everyone can read. Every idiot can read, he said. It's not about reading. Intelligence, he said, intelligere, or whatever, is reading between the lines. So by unfocusing your eyes, by getting that crossover uncrossed, it's almost like you, for those who can't do that, it's a brilliant practice. I mean, you want to look at your nose a little bit and you get a bit squinty eyed, and it could hurt a little bit until you get used to it. And then what happens very often, so let's say, for instance, Lana's obviously practiced in that, but if you're not practicing that, look at the tree. And then you unfocus your eyes and you uncross the crossover in the back by just gently focusing on the bridge of the nose there. The tree doubles up. That doubles up, and all of a sudden you have two trees, or anything that you're obviously looking at. So you've got two trees. And this is where all of a sudden there's that space in between. And that's that door. This is where every one of us opens portals all the time, knowing or unknowing. And this is where spirits can come in and out. This is where you can see patterns that you couldn't see before. This is where you can ask permission. Can I enter? And if you want to do this more consciously, you can play with that. And this weekend, this was one of the exercises actually that we've done. And I seem to think that, was it on Sunday night or something? I was dreaming, and in my dream, I opened and I could read. There were letters writing, and I can't remember what the letters said, but it was almost like, because I had practiced during the day, in the dream time, there was this opening and there was a sentence right in the middle. And I remembered, in a way, I felt, this is because of that exercise that I've done, you know, that portal open. So this is a good exercise to play with. And I think one thing that needs to be said here is that, you know, how many of us who have so many different interests, and, you know, they're compulsive creators, and how many of us have judged themselves until the cows come home that they're not focused enough, right? And when you're actually really, you know, honest with yourself, we all have such an amazing focus. And sometimes what we need to do is actually the opposite. Let go of that focus. And that's when everything appears. It's all there.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. That do make a lot of sense, because we're so distracted with everything that we have to do as our daily chores and jobs and stuff like that. But when we just kind of unfocus, then we see a whole new depth that has always been there, but we never took note of. And when we undo and unfocus, then we start to see these magical appearances everywhere. And I find that very fascinating.
And I really like that he defined intelligence like that. He said it's between the lines. You want to be able to start reading between the lines. And of course, that element of us being portal openers and closers all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what we do. Every time, Lana, you see something that is not there for somebody else, you've just opened a portal.
You're looking into that other,
You're looking
that
into
next,
the other room.
you're looking at, into that next layer of mattress that you were talking about.
Yes. Just drop down another layer. Yeah.
And you know, when you were talking about the mattress, I'm like, why is she going down? When you
Yes.
add a mattress, you're going up, right? You're lifting yourself up higher and higher because you're putting layers on. And you know what I did? I decided to flip the mattress around, turn it upside down.
Mattress. No, I did it on purpose. The top layer,
Yeah.
because I said sit on top of your royal bed and the first layer, and then we're gonna drop down.
And I'm thinking, where's the little P? The P is supposed to be in the very bottom
It
of all
was.
the layers, right?
It was there. It was, yeah. So yeah. So that what stood out for me really. And other than, I mean, I'm impressed with his way of just stepping on that stage and being nervous for, I don't know, 10 minutes, if that, and then just everything just starts flowing. And by the end of the 2 days, this whole thing makes perfect sense. And not that he, you know, came up with anything particularly different that any one of us would probably know. But I mean, just looking at yourself as the point of gravity. And also I love his the way he explains the ego. He is not an A. He said without the ego, you can't live. There's no individuality without the ego. Without the ego that lives in the solar plexus, there is no energy created. There is no movement. So
What if, it's just for argument's sake, what if what he's saying about the ego, what if that when we get higher knowledge, that isn't even true anymore, right? Because
yeah.
we're only at the point where we have to accept information as it's coming into us because we don't seem to know what the right thing is yet. And so when we hear somebody say, and we believe that somebody has higher knowledge than us, we believe that what they're saying is true. But what if all that is not even real?
Well, he's the
Right?
first one who says, do not believe a word I'm saying, because what I'm saying is not the truth. Because
Well, there you go.
no,
There
but
you go.
okay, it's his truth.
Yeah.
He does
For
not
him.
Yeah, he does not claim, and he says, do
Yeah.
not follow me because I'm not interested in followers, because that just, demands too much of him, which he doesn't even want.
Yeah.
And he
He
doesn't
should.
have followers. There were 1,000 people in this, and this was the other interesting thing, how a signature frequency creates a certain kind of accumulation of people. There were 1,000 people in this room, and there was no guruism, there was no followism, there was none of that. You could tell that didn't get triggered by each other. There was a fortification of each one of them. I'm not saying each one of them, but it felt totally neutral to be there. It was joyful, what he makes his little jokes and everything. It was just 2 days of a very joyful gathering. He said what he said. You took what you wanted to take, and then he pissed off again. Brilliant. Great signature frequency. And for me, the fact that he can stand up and just talk without being, preparing anything is great. I mean, yes, he keeps on saying the same thing very often, but that was the other thing that I wanted to see, because he's a huge art creator. He's talked about the dimensional, descriptions before. And whilst, he talks about the tetrahedron and all of that, he always comes up with a different context and puts it in an updated sort of view that
Mm-hmm.
seems to work for the people that are there. So that's what I like about him as a presenter, that he really takes into account who is in the room.
Yeah. Each time he speaks, he's shifting from one layer to another layer, like a paper thin layer,
And
not a mattress per se layer, but a paper thin layer where the presentation would be different, and he would tune into the people that are there,
and
and so
I
he
mean,
presents it differently. And
mm.
I and another way, he each day he's advancing further and further into his knowledge,
And
right?
the other thing, Lana and everyone else, is like, for me, I'm not even a big follower of him. I watched the odd thing, I've never paid anything, what he was doing. I watched a little bit on Gaia in the very beginning. He's never had an impact on me like AB had in the beginning, when I listened to the Galactic History or something like that. That I've never had. But what I do appreciate him now is there is this lightness to him, that joy that he exudes,
Mm-hmm.
and the other thing is the way he trusts what comes to him. That the wackiness of saying, okay, well, I heard this voice and it told me to sit in front of the Vatican, and I just went there and sat there, and all of a sudden this happened, and then they told me to go up to Scotland and stand naked in the field, and okay, well, I did it, and it's like one thing leads to the next. So being able to read the patterns like that, and to trusting with that joy and innocence, and that is something probably speaks to me in particular, because that's what I'm after. I suppose that this is what I know that I am too, and haven't really maybe acknowledged or, explored.
Yeah.
Why do you guys, I mean, I know, Lana, you're not particularly familiar, but Marissa, I think you're more familiar with him, and Jen as well, maybe. What do you like about, oh, doesn't really matter,
I
the
mean,
present.
I've listened to a couple of his shows before. I'm
Mm,
slightly familiar with him,
mm,
um, but
yeah,
I don't listen to him consistently.
yeah. Yeah, no, I like his neutrality.
So I like his softness
Mm-hmm.
and his expansiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I think my perception of what you get from somebody is often just in resonating with their frequency, not so much even what they have to say.
Mm-hmm.
And so just sitting in his frequency when I listen to some of his things helps me put things into place. It's not so much what he says, it's just sitting in that frequency.
Yeah, exactly. There is this lightness that he has, that joyfulness, and the other thing I do like is that he always takes a word and he reframes it, or he looks at it, like intelligence and things like that. Always these are quirky little things that I like, so yeah.
I like that he's almost like a big kid, his energy of a big kid, but so wise. So having so much awareness, but I also, like Jen said, kind of like feeling his frequency just by being in his presence. And um, I'm not like, oh my gosh, Matias, but I do feel like, oh, yeah, who's this guy, and I'm thankful that Martina went, and I think Sandrine went as well. So now that you guys are here, we could osmosis more of that frequency into our space. The how we say we get codes and energy frequencies from being in certain spaces. So you already received those things, and like we may be connected to him, but you're kind of connected to him on a different level now, as in being in sharing space. So now we get to get the good vibes from you too, and then your osmosis of that information. But I like how he just shares big things in a semi simplified way, and the lightheartedness of his sharing, and the softness, and even a big concept is kind of broken down into, oh yeah, just like this.
Yeah. No, absolutely. This is right, Marissa. I was just thinking he did mention astrocartography, you know, and we did a show on astrocartography a couple of weeks ago, and I can't remember in particular in what connection, but this is the thing, this osmosis you say, you know, especially when you live in London. I mean, you get to know so many different nationalities. You just go to the supermarket and you meet so many different ones. And in the astrocartography chart, if you look at your lines, you know, that doesn't mean that you have to live in every single place where your line goes through. But when you actually start looking at the lines, you realize that, oh, I got a friend who lives there or who worked there, and I got a friend who, you know, things like that, or who just come back from a travel there and things like that. So because wherever we go, we pick up those codes and then we share them, as you say, with all the others. And then, you know, you sit together in this room with 1,000 people, and yeah, her sound was a bit quiet. But she's talking about this osmosis, you know, when we get together with people, and whatever you guys, like Lana, you did your trip, you went to see the eclipse and all of that. And then, of course, you know, we benefit in a group like this from whatever we absorb through other people. We learn, if you all remember, we sharing that frequency with the other group. You know, and when you have 1,000 people who are sort of like-minded and interested from all different, I mean, people came from all over the world just for those 2 days. It's an opportunity. It's a bit like walking through a portal when you walk into that room and picking up, and you don't even need to speak to anyone, you know, but you are being in that energy of community and interest and growth and play, and you know, yeah.
Listen, anytime something like that happens, it's for the benefits of everyone. When people get together in that type of frequency, so it
Yeah.
benefits the whole, it benefits the earth, it benefits the whole universe. So I'm all for it, you know. It's the frequency that people are at, and they gather together to, you know, build up that frequency even more. But it's all for the good benefit of the earth, you know. So I'm all for it.
And you know, also I think, you know, we've said this in other shows now before, in other gatherings before, it's becoming more and more clear that wherever our center of gravity is, we are attracting to us. And sometimes, you know, when you travel to a different country, like when I go to Austria, my center of gravity is in Austria because I'm present there. And then I start attracting different frequencies towards me. So sometimes it's, and this is why we travel, right? I mean, Jen, you know that, you know, but if you just keep in mind that wherever you are, boots on the ground, this is where your center of gravity is. And this is where everything gets attracted to you. And I think this is one of the things he just obviously made quite sure to explain to people. If you are like, you know, I mean, that's like the spider. The spider doesn't run from one end of the web to the other to find out if the flies are there, where the flies, and why is there not a fly, and this. It has to stay in the center of its gravity and just allows the flies to be caught, and then the spider goes and gets it. And there is this space of, like you mentioned, Lana, earlier, it's like there's a peacefulness to it. You don't have to run, you don't have to seek. Everything is coming to you. Just stay put. Stay in your depth, stay fortified as you I am. Boundaries or not, you know, this depends on how neutral you have become. And also the other distinction, of course, is the difference between duality and polarity. Yes, we're coming out of duality, which is the man-made good and bad judgment. But as long as we are in form in this 3D, and this is where everything happens, because it's not just 3D, all these matrices are laid over. Doesn't matter where you stand, you're always accessing all the matrices. The P is always there, no matter which dimension you are, focusing on. What was I going to say with this? Totally lost this. I have no idea what I was going to say with this.
I can add something a little off topic but similar.
Yes,
I was in meditation yesterday morning, and when I close my meditation in the morning, I always, thank all of my ancestors of where I live and travel. And when I did that, I'm getting ready to leave for the UK again in a couple weeks. And as soon as I did that, I felt the ancestors of Scotland like line up to each side of me and line up behind me. And one of the things that they said, I always find interesting too, because I try to record channeled messages. I got a channeled message yesterday morning, and I always try to record it with my phone. And when I get done and I look down, my phone never recorded it. It did not record it. But they said there's really nothing that we have to do. Like, there's no work for me to do on this trip. I'm just going back to a line where I've walked before and bringing the frequency then to me now and integrating those together. And that the point really is to have fun and have enjoyment with it and know that you're supported in that way. So it's not any kind of work that we have to do. It's not a chore or a job or spiritual work or any of the things that people put responsibility to. We innately do these things. It's just who we are. And it's bringing ourselves to that point and integrating those energies in that moment and taking it in and admiring the beauty that we always have around us.
Absolutely. All you need to do is, and this, you said you need to change your point of gravity.
Mm-hmm.
Change of gravity changes when you walk, when you move. So we have to keep moving.
Yeah.
And it's not the head that moves, okay? It's literally the feet.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, we talked about, we so often have done metaphors of movement, which I did, move a step forward. If you have a problem, and you take a step, literally a step forward, the problem changes. If you take a step backwards, the problem changes. If you step one to the left, to the right, you have a completely different representation of the problem. And he stresses that and you mentioned your ancestors now, and he talks about two more chakras, or whatever he calls them, in the knees and in the feet. So that stressing of the movement is so important. The ancestors are connected to our knees, to the legs. It's like the left side, the feminine side, the right side. It's the connection there. And also a lot of the memories of other lifetimes are stored in the ankles. So that it's really important to honor the point of gravity, the ego, the physical vehicle, the legs, the feet, and our body that has to move in 3D, because only then we are actually really working all the other dimensions. Our soul, our spirit moves with us. Our ancestors move with us. We are the boots on the ground. That is that saying, right? Boots on the ground. Ancestors are dead. Spirit can't exist. Soul can't exist without you I mean, it can exist without you moving, but it's not going to be very happy, the soul, right? You want to have some fun. Soul came here to have some fun. Yeah. Does anyone else want to share anything along those lines, or wants to, you know, even if it's something completely different? Lana's back. Good.
Well, one of the things that I thought about when I was after I came back from my travels was that along the lines of going different places and traveling was to me it wasn't necessarily that I'm collecting my soul shards necessarily, but being the center of gravity. Now that you brought up the center of gravity, I'm going to use that as my focus. So being the center of gravity, when we travel to different places, or going back to places where we believe that we once lived in another time and space, um, what we're actually doing is that we have to remember that a lot of these roads that are become main highways and things like that were once ancient uh, uh, roadways. Well, I shouldn't say roadways, ancient pathways where our ancestors once walked. So roads are, some of the roads are built on these ancient pathways where ancestors once walked. Now we could have been those ancestors, right? Walking those same paths. Now, when we take our artificial intelligence, mechanical vehicles, and we travel through these different arteries of roadways, what I felt like I was doing was that I was spreading my center of gravity out and touching those ancient past lifetimes. And like, you know how a spider web would spread out, like you mentioned spider web just now. I'm just touching the past lifetimes in those areas where I once had a lifetime or so, and connecting to them in that manner. I'm not interfering with them. They're there. They're in their dimensional layers. Their time, they're still existing, doing what they're doing. But I, being in the now, going through those same paths again, I'm connecting to them through this web of my own gravitational energies. And I'm spreading myself out and touching each one of them in that way. It's like sticking my fingers out and saying, hey, I'm here, you're there, let's connect again.
So that was actually something we touched as well on the weekend, and you're doing more than just that, Lana. You are one of the weavers. The word weaver came up. By doing that kind of thing, you're weaving your way home. And like you said in the beginning, you know, you brought in the law of one. If you think about it, you know, you're weaving the path for everyone, because at the end of the day, we are all one. So
exactly.
And you know, I mean, this game started billions of years ago, and we are basically having accumulated all those experiments and the experiences and the lessons and the learnings. We're weaving our way back home, back to spirit, up or down, whatever, the rainbow bridge. That's what we're doing. We're weaving, we're building that web. We are the spider. We used to be the more probably of the flies, but now I think we can all safely say we're becoming more of the spider. And of course, we are the flies too. But, you know, the point of gravity is more us weaving the web rather than being munched up by the spider, right?
Yeah. Well, think of yourself as being the spider, and the flies are your past lives,
Mhm.
right? So when you send your light out in the form of your light webs, you're
Mm.
connected to the flies of your that you were in past lifetime, right?
Yeah,
Each fly is a past lifetime, each bug or whatever, that the web would catch, right? So you're sending out your light of web, you being the spider itself, and that is going out and connecting. You know, spider webs are kind of sticky, right? In a sense. So as it goes out, it attracts, it catches the
yeah,
flies and stuff like that. And so you're catching all your past lives, and they're on this web, and you're all going for a ride together, right? You're
absolutely.
riding the cosmos.
Absolutely. And then, you know, the other thing is, you know, also the shapeshifter that we are. Sometimes you just want to have the view of the fly or of the
Mhm.
net, and not just of the spider, you know, or
Right.
because we can. Like Jen says, we're supposed to be here for fun. And the responsibility, we've redefined it 1,000 times, is the ability to respond as your point of gravity. And I love, that's what I love, that metaphor that he brought up. And this is where the mattresses came in. He said, sit on a bed and you sitting really deeply and heavily, there's this dent that's, you're really making a dent in the universe. You're making yourself known. You're contributing by your point of gravity.
Mhm.
This is me. This is my contribution. And I'm just sitting on the bed and everything just comes to me. And think of it as a container, because as he was talking, I'm thinking, okay, this is a container. We are that container. And everything that resonates with our frequency just comes to us. That doesn't mean that, at some stage I get bored of sitting on that particular bed. So I take my point of gravity, my ego, my I am, my everything, my thoughts, my feelings, everything, and put my point of gravity in a different space. But you never leave just the head behind and your ass over there. No, you take the whole package. Your I am, your ego. Honor your ego. It's time to stop thinking we need to get rid of our ego. No. We've said this 1,000 times in our shows. You can't live without it. You just need to redefine it. And point of gravity for me is such a beautiful way of looking at it, because it's not just taking you up there, it's actually grounding you in.
Exactly. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that for me stood out. That's why I thought, oh, fuck, I need to do a meditation about it, because that was the main thing for me. All the rest that was just, for me anyway, at the time. That was, and it was this juxtaposition, it's like, oh, turning it all upside down, inside out. That kind of thing. And of course, the other thing, there was a discussion about imagination, which we discussed numerously now. This is the way forward. We need to practice. We need to, what's the word? Cultivate our imagination, our images. And you see, this is the other, okay, so let me mention this, because I quite like that too. And again, it's a very physical thing. You relax your focus. You create that portal by taking this one tree, like Ilana said, make it into 2 trees. And as you practice, you can see everything too. Yeah. And then there's the portal. Oh God, where am I taking this to? Where is it going?
I'm sorry, I was on mute.
What is going on?
It's been stolen.
Keeps flopping away. Oh, imagination. Yes, yes, yes. So you open this portal up and you look through the portal, right? And then you're not imagining it in the old way, you're making it up. You're literally observing it. And I love that. because we are the observer. It's you observing the unseen by opening that portal. Because lots of people say, oh, I can't. Imagination is BS because I'm just making it up. It's not real. But when you see it, and this is what the dream was all about, because it showed it to me, that thing opened up. And of course, I can't remember because it's a different story. And it was literally a sentence there. And I thought, oh, yeah, okay, I can see it. And then that's where trust comes in, because this guy can see it. That's why he can observe it. This is why he can trust it. And the observer creates. The observer collapses the wave into the particle. So we are continuously playing that dance, that rhythm, that this is why the universe is made up of sound, of rhythm, because we're continuously collapsing the wave into the particle into the wave, the intention, the focus and lack of focus and all of that.
That's why I like to watch, to focus on those photos they call magic eye.
Mm-hmm. Good
Because that's a good practice, yes. When you have to practice looking into the photo.
Mm.
Because you have to bring your eyes together.
Totally. And like Lana said, at some stage, you can't, there's no way you can go outside. You cannot no longer see it. You just see everything. I mean, I wish I could say I see everything, but yes. And then, of course, it doesn't stop with the seeing, because you start hearing and smelling, right?
You know, talking about smelling, I was walking through in our garage, I think it was last week, and for a few days, every time I passed this one spot in the garage, I could smell this beautiful scent, this sweet perfume scent of some kind. And I can't identify where it's coming from, but it's in this one spot. And I know that I didn't put anything there. I know that there is nothing in there that should be smelling like that, because I can't even see anything. But I could smell it every time I passed this one spot in the garage.
Well, Lana,
and it was there for a few days, and then now it's no longer there. And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe somebody came to visit or something like that, and they're just hanging around the garage, for a little while.
I was just talking to somebody about that kind of situation yesterday. When I moved into the house that I live in now, the previous owner was still there. He had died maybe a year before I bought the house, and I bought the house from his widow, and he was very mad that she left. And so, like, honestly, he smelled so bad, but I could smell him coming. So I had to purge him from the house. And I had friends that had helped me move in, and her son was at my house, and he was asking if Dan had been to visit since I kicked him out. And I said no, but then like Krista went to telling me how last week her grandfather had been visiting her, and that she could smell him in this one circle of her house. Like, it smelled like not cigarette smoke, but like a good campfire smoke. And so like that's how she knew that her grandfather was visiting, because he always smelled like a campfire.
Exactly.
Fascinating. These, it's like, why would my garage be smelling like this in this one spot every time I walk by?
Because you are a compulsive portal opener. You know it. And I think that's actually a good point you girls making, ladies making, because when you open portals, I think we need to close them too. Be aware of what you're doing, because you don't want to have all portals open. And it's very simple. You just acknowledge, okay, portal closed, that's it.
Yes.
And I would also say, maybe that's something we can talk about at some stage once we start to accumulate more information how we're actually doing it, because every single one of us has a different, very unique individual way of opening portals and closing them.
mean, I think that maybe we just do it naturally and we don't even know that we're doing it, right? And because we've come to this point in our evolution, these things just pop open naturally through the presence of our frequency being there.
Mm.
And then you walk past it or you experience it, and then, it does what it does until you pass by it again.
I also want to think that, again, feet on the ground. Yeah. So my feet are here in London. Okay, I'm sitting here right now. My point of gravity is in London. My thoughts are very often with Paul in Cyprus, with Emma in a different house, with my family, with, God, with you guys, la, la, la. So I think every time we take our thoughts away from our feet, we are opening portals. And we are sort of destroying the coherence of us being present here. We know that because that's time travel, really, and that can be done, but we need to be aware of that. And since this point of gravity has really hit me a little bit in terms of when I'm starting to think, oh, I need to, talk to this one. And I'm like, no, come back, point of gravity, come back. Because, when you want to manifest something, when you want to actualize something for yourself, you got to bring it to you. And for that, I think Matias has also, he's a very good example with that, because he doesn't really pay much attention to even the people in the audience. Yeah. He's not one of those. He doesn't receive the applause in the end. He's already finished. He's going, he's very much contained within himself. When he speaks, he's there. He's totally present. And when he's finished, he's gone. And that is very interesting in a way, when you are in the presence of somebody like that, because it does remind you that paying attention to other people, to other people's problems, to other thoughts would be, gossiping, all of that takes you out of your center of gravity. So don't expect things to actualize that actually are in alignment with what you want to create, or that feels really good, if you're continuously thinking about other stuff that is not connected to your feet. Because if I'm thinking about somebody, arguing in Austria, what has that to do with me sitting here right now?
Exactly. And the fact that we are becoming more aware of these things, we can stop ourselves and bring ourselves back into center, into where we're at, refocus. And that's also a beautiful thing, because in the past, we didn't have that realization. But now we do. And because we do, we can practice it more and more.
And it's simple,
Mm-hmm.
and it's physical. It's literally honoring your feet. It's literally honoring your knees, your sacrum, your solar plexus, and all the organs there, and the spine, and the head, and the hair, and the hands. So it's like turning enlightenment upside down, not disappearing, taking your center of gravity out of here, because it has to be, gravity is 3D. Loving the idea of 3D, because everything gravitates to you. There's no such thing as, if you're living in 5D, yes, we're already living in 5D, but we're not just angels, etheric form, our masters are guides. No, it's like appreciating and honoring the ego and the physicality and the food that you eat and the rose that you smell and the beverage that you drink and the people, the person that you're with. Present moment living.
Exactly.
And it's simple. I mean,
Simple when you become aware of it.
mm,
Just becoming aware of it. Then you're not constantly leaving your body and traveling off, wandering, thinking about here, there, and everywhere, You're here. You're thinking about where you're at. You're thinking about what can I do now? Living in your moment.
and it's realizing that the
Mhm.
multidimensionality starts here. Because
Yeah.
you're the point of gravity. You
Mhm.
draw there are no dimensions if you don't draw them in. There's no universe if you, yeah. Okay, my darling, thank you. Well, we're finishing it off now anyway, but
Yeah.
you're the universe, point of gravity, ego. I am, honor it, have fun, smell it, taste it, drink it. Right?
So one time I was in Oklahoma some years ago, and there's a place in Oklahoma that they declare it as being the center of the universe.
Mhm.
So of course I've heard about it, and I wasn't far away from where I was, and so we decided to go and find the center of the universe. So just so you know, there's the center of the universe in Oklahoma.
It's so funny, eh? So you take the center of the universe to the center of the universe and say, oh, I'm in the center of the universe. And then another one comes is another center of the universe. Together we become a bigger center of the universe. It's just fascinating. I'm loving it.
It was interesting to go visit the place, but it was also disappointing.
No shit. Could have stayed in your living room, right? Right on top of your bed. Fabulous.
I didn't know what I was expecting to find there, but
Yeah.
just the name just fascinated me, and I wanted to go, because we weren't too far away from it at the time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
All
But it
right,
was a
darling.
good conversation. Yes.
Yeah, last
Fascinating.
one standing. So
Yeah.
thanks for coming on, Lana, and all your contributions.
Oh,
Everyone
you're
else as
welcome. Always.
well, and we'll take it from there. Take care,
Yep.
Lana. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.